All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I have the recording started. I have Nick and Anne with me from PCG and Sherry along with me here from OSIS. And so just really quick to get started is just that reminder I dropped in the chat with the link to register that there is an evaluator training on Tuesday, September 16th to go over kind of a walkthrough of that and with all the new changes from the release that was done in July. So just as a reminder, there was webinars. We had 2 yesterday that were well attended, lots of great feedback. Those will be recorded. If they aren't already, I haven't checked, on your dashboard. The links will be there and then in Zendesk as well. And then that wrapped up yesterday and wrapped up our end user series. So all of those links will be up and available for end users to view those recordings. So this will be the last one that we have with our webinars that are coming. And I'm gonna kick it off over to Sherry, and she's gonna talk about this annual Medicaid notification. I gotta unmute though.
Okay. Katie and I are in the same room, so it only works best if one of us has our computers unmuted with sound on. Just a quick update, the annual Medicaid notification that you see on your screen, we had a district reach out asking what the required fields are for that annual Medicaid notification. If you had looked in the resources before, we had the header that was on all of the system transition materials at the top, which had student name, the demographic information, but then at the bottom was also a spot for student name and Medicaid number. And the district just wanted to know what was required just for time-saving purposes. So we worked with our Office of General Counsel, and they said the only thing that is required on this form is the student name. They said it would be nice to include a school year on here or a date, but that is not required. So we have removed all of the non-required fields. There is a line just at the top. If you want to put your district name, or if you want to put your district name in the school year, you can do that, or you could leave it blank. Some districts have this where it automatically populates in your online registration system. That is fine. That's great. But we just have this one in the resources section, resources widget of EdPlan for your convenience if you need it. You're also welcome to take the content and put it in another application if you wanted to do a merge with student names. That's totally fine. OMS is going to upload, if they haven't already, this same form on their website as well. Any questions about the form? And again, this is the annual notification, not the Medicaid consent. Okay, Katie.
All right, I'm not seeing him in the chat, and I jumped over. I was looking at the presenter agenda, and I jumped over enrich historical documentation that I added this morning. So just a reminder that the district response is due by October 31st. We've received about 25 responses, and so still working out the details with Rick from our other office within SCDE as to how he wants to start communicating with districts. And so more to come on that, but you have time to submit that response. Just a reminder. And then I'm going to pass it over to Nick, and he's going to give us some updated information about the exited students in Table 4.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. So if you all have submitted Zendesk tickets on Table 4, that's probably the main way that we've communicated. But the 12th graders from last year are still inside of EdPlan SC as active. Last year when we launched the system, we could just exit those students with a general exit reason. It said unknown for every student because Table 4 was not being run out of EdPlan SC last year. This year it is. So we are working, and SCDE is working with their data partners to get a file that describes how students exit from EdPlan SC with a reason that works for Table 4. For instance, rather than exiting a student as unknown, they would be exited as having received a diploma or a certificate or the South Carolina High School Employability Credential. That information has not been received yet by EdPlan SC, so you'll still see your 12th graders from last year as active 12th graders, and you will not see them populate the Table 4 AR report. With that in mind, the submission for Table 4, which I know was originally scheduled for tomorrow, is currently pending. There is no new due date published as we work to ingest that data into EdPlan SC. So the takeaway is your 12th graders from last year will still be active in the system. Your Table 4 report will not be populated with them as SCDE and their data partners work to get a file to EdPlan SC that exits them with the appropriate reason. Anything else to add there, Katie, or any questions from folks watching the chat in case anything comes through?
No, we are consistently meeting with our data partners to look at this and produce a file to be ran. So more information to come on that, you know, from us, from Carolyn, about when that's going to be worked out, and directions and instructions are forthcoming. So with that, I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Oh, there we go. What is the timeline for this to be corrected? We asked the same question this morning. We don't have a definitive timeline right now. It's being worked on pretty much like hourly. So people are working at it. They're looking at pulling it from the state data warehouse to pull that back over, but we don't have, like, I couldn't give you a timeline right now. But yes, Table 4 is not due tomorrow. That I talked to Carolyn today, and she said that she had sent something out that Table 4 is not due. And there's, like Nick said, there's no TBD yet. So we don't know what this date's going to be until we know where we're at with getting those exited students out of EdPlan but out of there correctly, so that we have the information for Table 4. So moving on, Nick's going to cover just kind of going over the school week length, modifying the length for schools and individual students.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. So I think I'll be covering a few topics now in a row of some stuff that we probably talked about heavily about this time last year, but it's becoming relevant again as we are starting a new school year, and we wanted to give folks a reminder of a few kind of like accounting things inside of your system. So you're going to see me using the training site. So a few things will be a little different from what you experience in your sites. I'll try to highlight those as I talk through it. But if you're seeing something slightly different, that's just because I'm in a different site. I'm not in a site with real student data. So the first thing to cover is modifying the day length, or it's the week length really, for schools and for grades and for individual students. The main thing this plays into is the LRE calculation on the placement page. This will give you the amount of time in week or amount of time in school per week, which is like the denominator of the placement calculation, because you'll add services, which will withdraw time with Gen Ed peers. We're talking about setting that denominator. How long are they in school per week? And there's 3 different levels to set this. And I think this is especially important if your district has opened a new school this year. That's something you're going to want to go double check the week length for that school to make sure that that is reflective of the actual week length. So I'm going to start at the school level, then I'll go to the grade level, then I'll end with the student level, because you can set the day length at 3 different levels. So starting with the school level, you'll go to your admin menu and click on search schools. This is where you'll see something slightly different because I'm in the training site and we have this thing called school areas in the training site. Normally when you press this, you'll just get a list of your schools right away. So I'm going to make one more click that you won't have to make, and then you'll get a list that looks like this with the schools inside of your district. If you click on one of those schools on the blue name, it's going to bring up some information about that school. And what we're interested in is at the bottom of this page. So if I scroll down, the header is called School Week, and then you'll see a few things. And we're going to start with the 2 fields you see on this screen. So the units per week is just the number of length, and then the minutes or the units describe that number. So I think this is always going to default to minutes, but you can also use hours, blocks, or periods. But you'll type in a number of minutes per week that school is giving instructional time. So this is currently set to 1900. Let's say I know that this school has a week length of 1700. If I change that and click save, that's going to change the default week length for any student at that school. So in a second here, I'm going to show you how to set custom lengths for a certain grade at a school or for a certain student at a school. This is going to set your baseline. So if a student is enrolled at this school, their units per week will be 1,700 minutes, no matter what. Then if you want to set more granular lengths, I think a common cause here would be a school that's like pre-K 5, and the pre-K day is a different length than the 4th grade day. You can also go and click this button that says edit length by grade. This will pop up a menu with a large number of options, but it's basically just custom grade length or custom week lengths per grade. So if I want to set my 3rd grade to be a different week length than the rest of the school, I'd set that here, say it's 1,600 minutes. The 3rd graders have a shorter day, and I'd press save. So now the way that this would work is if I'm a 2nd grader at this school, I did not set a custom grade length, I'm going to get the 1,700 minutes because there's nothing else to override that. But if I'm a 3rd grader, I just set the custom length for 3rd grade. I'm now going to get that 3rd grade length. I'll get 1,600 rather than 1,700. So every student will get the school unless there's a custom grade length. If there's a custom grade length for that student's grade, they will get that custom day length based on their grade. There's a 3rd level to this, that is the student day length. So I'm going to pause really quickly and see if there's any questions in the chat about how to set these at the school level or at the grade level. You can get there by going to admin search schools, you choose the school, and you set the length. If you don't do any custom grade lengths, every single grade at that school will get the same length. But if you've set custom lengths by grade, the student enrolled in that grade will get that length. There's a
Nick,
3rd.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I was just
No,
gonna say,
go
I'm
ahead.
not seeing any questions in the
Okay,
chat
cool.
there.
So a 3rd and final level, and the lower level is always going to override the higher one. So if there's just a school length, student gets the school length. If they have a custom grade length and they're in that grade, the student gets that custom grade length. And then a 3rd section is the student length. So I've picked a random student here. This could be any student in your system. And when you go to that student's personal info page, right here underneath personal info, and then you will scroll down underneath the enrollment header, you're going to see another set of fields. Same thing. Length of school week with a number you can type in, and then your units. So right now, if it says in parentheses, STD for standard, that means this student has the same day length, or the same week length as their peers in the school. But if I change that, let's say instead of 27 hours a week, we're doing 24 hours a week. And I go to press save. It's hard to notice, but you'll see that I've just gotten a little less than symbol. So that tells me this is no longer the standard week length for this student, but their week is shorter. It is less than the standard. I can go the opposite direction. I have a 34-hour week. And you'll see the symbol flip. Now the system is telling me they have a custom day length, custom week length, and it's greater than the standard. So the takeaway here is you can set week length at 3 levels, at the school level, at the grade level within that school, or at the student level. And the lower one will always override. So if a student has a custom week length, that's used. If a grade has a custom week length, that's used. If neither of those are true, it's going to use the school length for every student. Pause and see if we have any questions. Katie, anything else you'd like me to cover? If any folks have clarifiers they need. Not seeing anything.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
Okay.
So
Again, I
Nick,
think.
oh,
Scott
here comes
wanted-
one.
When a student is changed to an abbreviated day, why does this change all the LRE placement settings? So Melissa, I'm trying to interpret your question. I'm thinking of it as the length of week inside of the placement page. I'm not sure if that's what you're saying. But what I'm talking about this setting or changing is this number. That number is generated from what I was just showing. So if it is changed, it will change it on this calculator. And as a reminder, the value that's stored for reporting purposes is the selected value. This is a guide to show you based on the calculation what the system thinks they're being placed in. But the selected value is the stored value. So if you change that week length, it's going to change this inside of the calculator. Okay. Edie, I think my next up is transfer. Am I looking at the agenda right?
Yep, you
Okay.
are.
All right, so now we're going to talk about kind of two things in tandem. One is the student transfer process, and something we're seeing a lot happening inside of Zendesk, which is using the wrong ID during that student transfer process. And then that leads to student duplication, which leads to merges. So I'm going to kind of talk through two things at once. That is how to do a student transfer, which I think most folks are familiar with. I'm going to highlight a common mistake that introduces duplicate students. And then I'm going to talk about merges. So we're going to talk about how to avoid introducing duplicates. And then we know what will happen. You know, people are human, mistakes happen. So we're going to talk about how to do a merge for those students if that happens. So to start, the scenario here is a new student has moved into your district. They have a profile created by the EdFi feed, but that profile when the student first moves in is blank, right? It does not have any special education program information. You want to go grab that information from the district they used to be at. To initiate this process, you go to admin actions. And then once you're inside admin actions, you will click on the drop down and select student transfer. So once you're here, there's two different sections you can go into. The top section is what we'll use. That's where you go ask a different district for their records. It's the most common use case. The second one are looking at your outstanding requests that have not been processed, but they're in review. So when you want to make a new request, you're going to go to request transfer. Once here, you will be selecting your source district. I'm going to be choosing on one of our fake sites, the South Carolina State demo site, but you of course would choose the district that you're trying to get the records from. And then you'd enter the student's information. So the required fields here are the first and last name, the student ID, and then the student's birthday. I'm going to have to really quickly switch my screen because I do not remember the student birthday for who I'm trying to transfer. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this birthday. It's 1/15/2014. So doing this information tells the system, it helps them find the right student profile. It uses a couple of those identifying factors, their name, their ID number, and their birthday to make sure that you are getting the right student record. So right now I'm going to go ask the demo site. Again, just imagine that's another district. For Ali test records, this would be the son's ID that you would enter into this box, and this would be their date of birth. You do not need to re-enter the son's ID here. You can, but the only thing you need to do is put the son's ID in the box with the asterisk, the one that says student ID. So I'm just going to do that single student. I'm going to go down and I'm going to click request student transfers. And then once here, this is the point where the duplication can be introduced. So I really want to spend a good amount of time here hovering on what to do and on what not to do. I'm going to start out with what not to do. So you'll see at the top that I found my student. This is telling me we found Ali test. Here's their ID number. We see them over in this other site. Unfortunately, the way the system is laid out, the next thing that catches your eye is it says make a new student in this district. So this would be your district name. I'm just in the training site, so that's what it says there. And what we see happen very, very often is the typing of that like 6 or 7 digit PowerSchool number into this box. So let's say the student's local PowerSchool number is 123456. So a lot of folks were seeing put that number, that PowerSchool number in here, and then continue forward. And the transfer process, if you do that, will make a version of the student Ali test with this ID number, that local ID number. That is not what you want, because the real version of that student profile that comes through the EdFi feed will come using their son's ID. So rather than entering anything in this box, you do not want to enter anything in there. You want to ignore the whole thing. You want to go to the second button, which is select existing destination student. When I click select existing destination student, it looks like a student search screen. And this is pulling up and looking in my site for the student named Ali Test with their son's ID. I'm not entering the local PowerSchool number. I'm searching for the student on my site that was already set up via the feed with the son's ID. So I don't need to press anything else here. I'm just going to go ahead and say that's my information. I'm going to click view students. And then here is that version of the student on my site. So I'm not making a new version of Ali Test. I'm telling the system, go find that student that already exists and choose them. So now I would choose Ali Test, and I would continue the transfer process forward, leaving this student ID exactly as is, because you do not want to type in that digit PowerSchool number in the transfer process. If you or your staff ever find themselves typing PowerSchool ID, a non-10-digit number during the transfer, that is something we want to avoid, because that is how it introduces duplicates. It's just like a social security number. The system identifies a student as unique by that number. So you could have Ali Test with ID 123456 and Ali Test with a son's ID. We want to make sure we don't enter that short PowerSchool number into the transfer process. All right. Now I'm going to show what happens if you do, because it's very likely that will happen, right? We're never going to get it perfect. Sometimes someone might slip up and they're going to enter that PowerSchool number. And then what you're going to see is two versions of the student. So if you searched by name, if you typed Ali Test into your student search, you'd see two records, one with the short number, one with the long number. And the way to deal with that process is a student merge. I'm going to pause for a second before I transition into the student merge section, see if there's any questions, or Katie, anything you want me to add about what to avoid during that transfer process.
No, I think that'll help clear that up. We did have a question from Patrick. He said, is there a way to run a report if the other district denied transfers? Another way to view besides the original screen they appear on?
Yeah, it's a good question, Patrick. I'm not immediately certain, but I'll check with our team after this meeting, and I'll make sure the answer gets back to Katie to share out to folks to see denied transfer requests rather than just that review transfer request. I'll make sure we get that answer.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay.
And I think I don't see any questions specific to that. So the next piece is I'm going to share my screen. Just to touch on the statement of comparable services. So you should be seeing that. And just to come down to the part about signatures. So we had a question come out of a district about this, and is it a required piece? And they were having a hard time getting the signatures for that. So with that, it is not a required part of that statement of comparable services. And so I'll drop that into the chat, but it's making sure that that you've done this in consultation with the parent, you've maybe documented the contact log, you've sent home that PWN. So that little piece there. So just wanted to make you aware, since that question came up from a district sharing that information. All right, and so then, go to the next piece of our agenda, which is going to be talking about bridging students.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. All right, so what we're going to show now is if that happens, if you have a duplicate student, maybe you accidentally introduced the duplicate when you were doing your student transfer, and now you've got two versions of the same student. You got one with the short number, you've got one with the long number. The long number one is always the one we want to keep. The 10-digit SUNS ID, that is the thing that will come to us in the student feed. If they change schools, we'll automatically get that school change from the student feed, but it needs to be that 10-digit number. So if the transfer happens and you accidentally use the PowerSchool number, you're going to have two versions of the same student. And we want to keep the SUNS ID version of the student and merge the records from the transfer student into the SUNS ID version. So the way you'll do this is underneath the Find Students menu, there's a Merge Students option. Right next to Recent Students, there's Merge Students. And as I go through this, I want to let you know if you have any questions about this, please submit a Zendesk ticket. This is something our staff can help with really quickly. The Tier 1 folks can help you do this so that you don't have to wait for it to get to Tier 2. If you're not sure of how to do a merge, they can help you do your first few to make sure things work as you expect. But as soon as I hit merge, you'll see what again looks like a student search screen pop up. But the key thing here is the first student you're looking for is the student you want to keep. And the one we want to keep has the 10-digit ID number. So as soon as you come into student merge, the first thing you're doing is you're going to enter the SUNS ID for that student. Because if you're getting to this screen, you know you have a local ID version, that short number, and a SUNS ID, that long number. The first thing you type in is the long number. So you're going to have to stretch your imagination here a little bit because these are not actual SUNS IDs. But as I type in this first screen, this is the student I want to keep, the SUNS ID version. I'll search for them. It will find my student. And I will choose the student again that I want to keep. The first selection is the keep. So this should be your SUNS ID. You'd hit select a student and continue. Then you'll see the screen change. It looks almost the exact same. But right up here, it's going to say find the student to merge into Ali test. So as soon as you typed in the SUNS ID version, you now want to come in, excuse my voice, and find that short version of the student. I don't actually have a second version of Ali test, so I'm not going to search for this. But the key thing on a merge is you want to merge first by choosing the SUNS ID version. Second, you choose the PowerSchool version you accidentally made. Once you do this, overnight, the records that accidentally got transferred to that short ID version of the student will move into the SUNS ID version, and the short version of the student is gone. And then from there on forward, the student feed will link up with that one version of the student you have. The records are on that one student, and the other student is gone forever. So the key takeaway here is when you conduct a student merge, the first thing you type when you come into the system is the SUNS ID. The second thing you type is that second PowerSchool ID that might have been created during the transfer process. All right, and then Michaela, seeing your question, this is a fantastic question. So how do I know? How do I know if I have duplicates in the system? There's a report that's built just for this purpose inside of standard reporting. So now I'm going to show you all, how do I even understand if I need to do what Nick just showed me? How do I look and see if I have any duplicates? The way you can do that is by going back to your home screen or choosing reporting. And then click on reports. And then inside of here, you can go to EdPlan SC every day. And then like the fourth thing you'll see here is the duplicate students report. It should be on your left side. So when you open up this report, it's very, very basic activity. But the thing it's going to ask you is, do you want to include inactive students and do you want to include a student code check? I would generally unclick include inactive students, because if a student is inactive, they've already been merged. You've already dealt with that duplicate. They're inactive. You got rid of them. You don't need to worry about them. But you do want to check the second box. It says include the student code check. So what this report does is it goes and looks at your entire system and it checks the same pieces of information you used during the transfer. It checks, do they have the same first name? Do they have the same last name? And do they have the same date of birth? And if the system sees two ID numbers for the same name and same date of birth, it flags it and says, I think we have two here. So if you run this report, unclick include inactives, click include student code check, and press run. This is going to take a while. It's on the training site, so I won't get the results in this moment. But this report's going to spit back out in Excel. And if there's nothing in that Excel, the system says you have no duplicates. It checked all the names and dates of birth, said no duplicates here. If it does see duplicates, you'll get two rows right next to each other. One will be the short number, one will be the long number, and they'll have the same name. That's how you know that you have a duplicate. All right. I think I might be the next topic too, Katie. I don't have my agenda, but I thought I had a lot in a row. My next. I see you on
Yep.
mute. Yeah.
I'm getting there right now.
right.
Yes, you are doing a demonstration of adding reporting periods. And I also will be dropping those instructions. I was typing very fast as Nick was talking. So I can drop that in the chat in a second.
Okay, thanks, Katie. All right, so this next one we've covered a few times. I think we first covered it at the very end of last school year, and then we covered it again in July. But we know we're coming up on the 4.5-week mark if your district started early, or the 9-week mark will be coming soon. And what we're talking about here is setting the reporting periods for your schools. So something we did in the previous year but have not done in this year was to import the reporting periods. So when the system was first set up, every one of your schools got automatic reporting periods based on PowerSchool data. What we found last year was that the reporting periods imported by PowerSchool were not reflective of the needs of special education in your districts. So these were not imported this year. What I'm going to show you now is how to set up those reporting periods, both from a global level for your entire district or at a school by school level. And this kind of works like the day lengths. If you set global reporting periods and then never set custom school reporting periods, every school gets those global reporting periods. But if you do set custom school level reporting periods, those custom reporting periods will be honored and it will be different than the district ones. So first, I'm going to show you how to set the district level reporting periods. To do this, this is only something folks on this call can do, only power user accounts or the related user types. You will click on the calendar. You won't go to any school, you'll just click on the calendar. Once that reloads, you may see a number of things here based on your account activity, but what really matters is the Edit School Years button. So you'll scroll down and you'll click on Edit School Years. You'll see a lot of years running into the past, a few years running into the future, but we're going to care about this far right column, the report periods column. And we are in the 25-26 school year. So I want this row, this column, this edit button. Before I do that, just as a general note on school years, this is also where you can edit the begin and end dates of your school years. So if for whatever reason this is incorrect and I actually started school on the 10th, I could come and change this and then reflect my true start date. I'm going to click the edit button on the far right for the 25-26 school year. And I'll be brought to a page that looks like this. So I want to talk about each of the three columns related to dates, as well as the name column here. So the name column allows you to customize what that is called, and this will print on the progress report document. The name itself is something that prints. The begin dates can be left blank. These are not required for the reporting period to function. If they are included, it provides an additional check that we saw sometimes last year can be a little bit much in terms of difficulty for generating a progress report. So if you do put a begin date, when you're going to generate a progress report for reporting period 1, the system is going to check that the IEP is valid between the begin and end date, and each goal start date is between the begin and end date. It is not a necessary check, and I think through experimentation last year and through helping folks out on Zendesk, we found that is not necessary. If you take it away, it does not harm anything. It just makes it a little bit easier to generate the progress report. End date is something that does need to be included. And the reason for this is it prints inside of the progress report. There's a few reporting needs which we need to print the end date of the reporting period. So this needs to be entered. If it's blank and you generate a progress report, there will be a little section in your documents you see your staff generating that says end date : and it won't put anything because you don't have an end date entered. So to fill in that end date is very important so it prints on the document. The third element is the due date. And this is another optional element, but this generates compliance alerts in the system. So if there is no due date, perfectly fine. It won't cause any issues inside of the system. If there is a due date, it will automatically generate alerts to folks responsible for students if the due date has been missed. So if someone is a case manager of a student, the reporting period due date is the 21st of October, the 22nd of October hits, and there is no progress report, that case manager is going to get an automated message telling them you have an overdue progress report for this student. If we take away those due dates, we just don't get those alerts. Doesn't cause any negative effects. It just doesn't trigger the alert. But if the due date is present on the day after that due date, so the day following what you've typed in, there's gonna be a lot of automated alerts that go to the message center for your staff. And that's gonna be saying, don't forget about the progress report for this student. All right, I'm gonna cover the school level reporting periods in a second. But Julia, seeing your comments, if there are no reporting periods, they would need to be added. If you want to add your reporting periods at the district level, so every school has the exact same ones, you would do that here. There's also the option to do custom reporting periods for each of your schools. What I'm about to show you, you do not have to do. If you set the district reporting periods and leave it, all of your schools automatically inherit it. But if you want to cause different reporting periods at the school level, that's what I'm going to show in this next demo. So I'm going to leave the calendar because the calendar is a district level function and I want to go to a school level function. And I see Katie is unmuted.
I'm muted. Lori had a question. She said, so are you recommending entering a due date? And Nick dropped in the chat that it was recommended to not put in a begin date. You can leave that one blank. And then you'll want to select an end date because it prints on the document. And then the due date because that's the compliance piece where the users are going to get the alerts.
That's right.
So I want to make sure. Okay, so Lori, the due date, that would be up to you, but that's how the users are going to get the alert that they that it's due or it's coming due. And then also I'm guessing for that report, Nick, I don't know if that pulls from there or not for the progress report that's not done, but
oh yeah, good point. And where you'd see this, I don't actually have any in this account. I wish I did. It looks a lot like this. It's gonna, it'll say something much like this, but it'll indicate, not that the IEP is overdue or upcoming. It would say progress report overdue. So they would get a message in the message center and then an email to their account saying there's a message. So I think if you're going to introduce due dates, it's just important your staff knows that you've done that. Otherwise, they're going to get a lot of emails and they're going to say, I didn't expect to see these. I think it's useful, but it's a district by district decision. The system will accept either.
And Nick, can you cover one more time what you just showed us for the reporting periods? And then you're going to be showing us if you want every school. So I want to just make sure that we're clear on what the difference is with what you just showed us and what you're going to show us and what that means.
Yeah, of course. Great question. So the way you get to the district, and you're in the district because I haven't chosen a school. I'm just on my home page for my whole district site and I'm clicking calendar. When my first click is calendar, and then I go into the school year, I choose my school year and hit edit. This is setting like what I call global reporting periods. It is going to be the reporting periods for every school in your system, unless you set something custom for that school. And that's what I'm about to show right now. But if you go into the calendar, and another way you can tell you're doing this will say your district name. That is telling you you're doing the district or the global reporting periods. What I'm about to show you are the school level ones. So if you just set this and every single one of your schools in district use the same reporting periods, you're done. But if you need to make local changes for a certain school, That's what I'm going to show you next. To get there, we're going to go to admin, click on search schools. This is again a tiny change because I'm in the training site. You will not see this school areas menu. You will just see a list of your schools. So you can ignore this click I'm making. It's just because I'm in the training site. And then once you're here, you'll see a little calendar icon next to each of your schools in your list. I'm going to click on that calendar icon for the SCDE Elementary. And then you'll see here another calendar. Two differences that can help you tell where you are, or one difference is up here in the little inset and the banner, it says my school name. It does not say my district name. So if I'm at the district level, this is going to say my district name. If I'm at a school level, this is going to set my school name. So now I'll scroll down, I'll do the same clicks. I'll go to edit school years. I'll go to 24-25. And I'll click edit. And this is a great example. So right now, this is frozen from the school area reporting periods. So this is what it would look like in your district if you hadn't made any custom changes. So I've set my reporting periods at the global level. And right now, my system, this school, SCDE Elementary, is just taking those. It looks a little different because we have school areas. I know we had 4 before and there's only 3 here. That's just a training site thing. But if it's not editable, right, I can't type a name here. That tells me that these are synced. So if I go change my district reporting periods and my page looks like this for a school, it's going to change with it because they're synced together. But now if I want to set custom periods for this school, I just press the customize button. When I press customize, the page reloads. And now it looks like what we saw at the school level. A few ways you can tell this is custom. Right here, it says custom school name reporting periods. Here, it says the school name. That's telling me I'm changing this at the school level. So right now, I could change this and make custom reporting periods for this school. And if these are present, they're going to be used in the report card, not the district ones. There's a few other buttons down here.
Nick, I wanted to just, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Those will be used if you create the progress report in documents, correct? But if you use the wizard, doesn't the wizard pull the district ones?
Yeah, great distinction. Thanks for saying that, Anne. So if you're using the progress report card wizard accessed up here, and because it's in the upper blue bar, that means it's a district function and not a school function. The progress report wizard is always going to use your district reporting periods because it isn't looking where they go to school. It's just giving you progress reports for a bunch of students. If you go to the documents menu per student, that will respect the custom reporting periods. Great point, Dan. All right, 2 buttons here that are helpful. One is copy to other schools. We haven't talked a lot about this, but if you have like a group of schools that all have custom reporting periods, but they're the same, so they're different than the district, but like 4 schools all share a different reporting calendar. Rather than going one by one and customizing all 4, you can press copy to other schools. When you do this, again, the training site is going to make this challenging, but this would just be a list of your schools. You can just click which schools you want to copy the reporting periods to and copy them straight into it. That will take those custom periods and apply them to the schools you check. So if you have a group of 5 schools that report on a different cycle, you can just set up one of them and copy it to the other 4. One other thing you can do, see if I have a back button here, is let's say I did that, I hit custom and I'm like, oh, I don't want these custom. That was a mistake. I want these to be synchronized with my district. All you need to do is press the button that says revert to SCDE reporting periods. This will say your district name. It's just because we're in the training site, it says SCDE. If I click this button, my screen reloads. And now again, it's view only. I can't type, I can't edit it. That tells me it's synchronized. If I want to customize again, I hit customize. If I want to synchronize again, I hit revert. So that will allow you to set custom reporting periods at the school level that differ from the district level. And again, if you just set district, you don't do any of what I just showed, every school is gonna have the same reporting periods. All right. I'm gonna unshare my screen and check the chat. Julia, good question. So if there are no dates in your school system calendar, are you talking about the begin and end date of your school year? Are you talking about the reporting periods? Or do you mean like the actual days, like September 5th in the calendar? Okay. Yeah, so if you don't have any set at the district level, Julia, that's just because we didn't import them for this school year. You just need to go set those yourself at the district level, and then they'll go to all the schools. But nobody's reporting periods this year were set from PowerSchool because we found it was just so variable. Most people ended up having to revert every single school like I just showed. So we took the other approach this year. We
Tanger,
assumed
you know,
most-
we have office hours.
All right, so Julia's got it. Thanks for asking, Julia. Katie, you're doing a great job of transcribing my speech. You're getting, yeah, very well done.
I'm trying, because usually that's what happens to me. I'm like, what did he just say? And so now I'm like, okay, if someone's saying, what did Nick just say? I'm trying to put that in the chat. Okay, reporting periods, single sign-on, that is me. All right, single sign-on, like the saga of single sign-on here. We have 25 districts that are using single sign-on. That is the ClassLink. So going into ClassLink and then SC Learn State Link. We are ready to, we tested, we're ready to start moving districts over. I offered at the LEA call, if anybody was ready to let me know, we'd go. We do have to start moving towards it for those districts that aren't on it. I will be sending out more information. I'm going to have dates so districts can sign up for a specific date when they're ready to do what Nick and I have called go live, or the go live date, when you will no longer use the old school link, the MFA to log in. You'll be using SSO. So districts will get to choose what date, and then that way they can prepare. And what happens is ClassLink will deploy the icon into your SC Learn State Link, and then Nick will run the file the night before. That will switch everybody over from local to Connect ID. And then that morning, all the users will log in, hopefully successfully, into ClassLink, State Link, SC Learn, so that they can then access it from there. And then, so what we'll do is we'll give you options for dates, but then there'll be a cutoff date. We had a cutoff date this morning, but then we talked about it some more. And so I've got to get that new date approved to give us a little bit more time. And so I'll be sending that information out, but know that it is coming. And you'll get to pick your date, but there will be a end date as to, like, you have to pick a date before this date. So it, more to come. And I know I feel like I'm saying more to come, but again, I want to make sure that this transition is very smooth. We, Nick and I, transitioned 22 districts extremely smoothly. And so I just want to make sure that you're not getting all those calls in the morning of I can't get in. And so we want to avoid that. So that's why this is taking a little bit longer, and that's okay. That we're taking some time with it. Unless you're like, hey, Katie, I want to go tomorrow. The earliest we could probably do is Tuesday. But if you're one of those districts that's like, we are ready, email me. But I offered that on Tuesday and no one has taken me up on that offer yet. So, all right, moving along, we're going to be talking about advanced reporting. And so I announced this, or I think I emailed this out, that admin users can now access the level 3 folder. But that level 3 folder is no longer called the level 3 folder. We've renamed it to something that makes a little more sense, which is view only. What's the offer for? The offer for is if you are ready to move over to SSO like Tuesday, we can do that for you. But that means that all your teachers know how to log in, all leadership can log in that way. So I know everyone that's using it loves it, but there's a lot of districts that this is very new to them. And so we want to make sure that the users can log in. So if you're ready, let me know. But in the meantime, I'll be working on dates. Single sign-on, it's ClassLink, so maybe Clever if your district use that, where you log in one time and you see all your apps on your launch pad. And Ed Plan will be one of those so that you're not having to do the MFA. So that's kind of what that single sign-on is. And so we'll all be, yeah, ClassLink. I know, there's a lot of different names. ClassLink, StateLink, SC Learn, SSO, Widgets Drawer, lots of new language coming our way with this implementation of the SSO. So moving on to advanced reporting, Nick is going to do a demonstration of how to share reports with an AR.
Yeah. Thanks, Katie. All right, so I'm going to be screen sharing, and this is going to be using a site that will look similar to what you all will see, but it has no identifying info in it. It's our university training site, so I won't be running any reports. But if you see it say university training, that's why. But this will look exactly like what you see.
And so everyone knows there are directions in the Zendesk knowledge base for this. So you don't have to have like a perfect memory of what Nick is showing you. There are directions for you to access on how to do this.
Thank you, Anne. All right, so advanced reporting is accessed. I guess I'll go back to the homepage. And once you're there, you click on reporting, reports. And then we spent some time today in that middle tile, and I think Anne is going to spend some time later in this left-hand tile, if my memory serves correctly. But we're talking about this right-hand tile, EdPlan SC Insights, or what we will call AR. We call it AR a lot. So if you click on this tile, this launches like a separate tab and a separate tool. And this is AR itself. So your screen will look different. It won't really look exactly like EdPlan. This is like a reporting tool that's attached to the EdPlan data. So once you're here, you'll see a couple things. Depending on how often you use AR, you might see a few different things. If you use it a lot, you'll see documents or reports you've run here. You might see some documents or reports you've favorited, but if you're not a frequent user, it'll probably look like what I'm seeing. The key thing we want to talk about today is within the folders structure. So if you click on folders, there are two main folders inside of advanced reporting. If you look in the far left, it's a little tough to zoom here, so I apologize for that, but you're gonna have to look up here. There's the personal folder, and that's like your own personal account. It's like your hard drive on your computer. It saves for you. You can see it, you can run it, other people cannot. So the personal area is just for you. There's a few different sections inside of public. So I'm going to drop down public. And when I do that, you'll see another subfolder called SCDE state reports and one called training documentation. So inside of training documentation, there's some general how to use the AR tool documents. But what we're going to want to go into is the SCDE state reports folder. When you open that up, you'll see two more folders. It's like one of those dolls you keep opening and there's a smaller doll inside of it. So inside of here, there's going to be one that's called SCDE state shared. This is the folder that is controlled and facilitated by OSIS. So right now there's 11 reports in here, and I encourage you to go check them out. We're working with a small group of folks to continue building these reports. And I think a lot of common reporting needs are met by what's here right now. And these are like what we'll call a turnkey report. You don't need to do anything. You just need to click on it. And it's already pre-built, and it's going to give you the information that's described in the title. I'm not going to click on any of these because if I would, it would actually return information that I don't want to screen share. But if you go click on one of these, the report will open. Sometimes it will prompt you to put in a school. Sometimes it will prompt you to put in a service type. But these are real functional reports that you can use to meet your needs today. If you're someone in your district who handles federal reporting, you've spent time in this top folder, especially with indicators 11 and 12 recently. That's where the state will publish federal reports. But what we're talking about today is the other folder. So this folder you can just look at. You can use these reports, you can make copies, but we're going to be talking about the second folder. And this will be the title of your site. So I'm in this university training site. So that's what I see, but you will see the name of your report. You will not see this. That's just a product of what I'm looking at, PCG development. But what you will see, and what we're talking about today, is this new folder called SC EdPlan View Only Reports. So reports that are placed inside of this folder can be viewed by your level 3 users, like your team lead, case managers, your SLPs. I believe, Katie, I'm gonna have you check me. Are there any other user types we want to highlight here? I think the main use case is team leads and case managers would be my, yeah. So these reports, those level 3 users can't make them, they can't edit them. But if you, as a power user, make a report that you want to share with broader audiences in your district at the level 3 user types, you can put them inside of this folder. And
It's
once
also
they're,
school administrators now.
oh,
Yeah, that was the big change. I was just gonna say that, Anne.
Great catch.
Reading.
good backup. School admins, it's another great one, right? You've got building-based administrators that you want to build a report for. You know, you don't want to have them spend their time building it. They probably don't know how to build it, but you might. You build that report and drag it into this folder, save it here. That will become viewable by any level 3 user accessing AR. So when they come in, they're going to have their little personal section, but then all they're going to see is their view only folder. And that they can click on these and they can run them, but they can't do any altering. So they cannot change what you've made. An advantage of AR is that it respects the user type permissions of EdPlan. So if you make a report that shows services, frequencies, and duration, if you run it as a power user, you're going to see every student in your district. If you put something inside of level 3 and Anne is a case manager with 15 students and she runs it, she's just going to see her 15. So that's the advantage of this level 3 folder is you can build something for your district globally, put it in this folder, and then it becomes like a personal experience for those level 3 folks. Pause there. Katie, anything else to add? Any questions from folks? It's a very useful feature to be able to have people see these custom reports. Before it was just for power users, but now it's expanded. So
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else new in the chat for that. I did want to go back to the question about, everyone in the district will only be able to access EdPlan through ClassLink. So if you have users that are manually created, they aren't running through the user file. A lot of times we'll see that that's contracted employees. Some districts have now updated it, so their contract employees actually are coming through the user file and PowerSchool so that they're able to access the things that they're needing to access through ClassLink or StateLink. So my concern, and this is one of the reasons that, like I said, we've kind of slowed this with EdPlan, like other apps are on there, but with EdPlan is I'm hearing from some districts, yes, all of my teachers are ready to go and they have access, but me as a power user, I don't use that. And so I'm having to get an account and training in ClassLink or StateLink, so so that I can see that. So I don't know if that was your question, Suzanne, with that piece, but yes, like any user of EdPlan will need to be able to access it through ClassLink, StateLink, unless they're a contracted employee and they're not in that user file. Then they'll still use the link. Just to expand on that piece. And then our next piece is just kind of Anne's going to take us through reviewing a few available reports and conducting an advanced student search.
All right, so we're going to look at reporting and the reports that you have available under standard reporting. Obviously, we've already looked at a few of these today. We've looked at the duplicate student report, we talked about inactive students. All of these reports are available to you. You can go in and play with them to see if you find them interesting. None of the reports affect anything. You can run the reports as many times as you want, and it's fine. It's okay to try them out. I did want to point out that this active student list report, it has columns that say percentage of time and the student setting, the LRE. And since all the updates we've made in the system, it's kind of made that not feed that report correctly. So if you're looking for time spent in special ed or their LRE information, that report would probably not be the one that you want to use right now. There are different reports. Nick just showed you those advanced reporting reports that one of them is a service delivery report that you can pull that will give you that information. You wouldn't want to rely on this active student list report for that. But to run one of these reports, if any of you are new, you click on the report. I'm choosing accommodations report. I'm choosing accommodations as of this date. So these are accommodations that are valid on this date. I check IEP. I check what testing participation areas I want, and then I can generate that report. And then once again, it will take some time to run and pull up, but it will come up with your accommodation report. And I was wondering if I have that. I think I ran that recently. If you want to view that report will show up here in my reports. Here's an accommodations report that I can show you. It will pull up or download as an Excel document that you'll open up. This pop-up box will come up every time, just say yes. And then any students who had accommodations will pull in here. This being the training site, the information is not going to be as good as it is on your site. There is also a report here that you might find useful or interesting, and that is under special ed. You have this overdue eligibility and IEP report, which I went ahead and pre-ran, but I'll open this up so you can see. You put in the begin date of your query and the end date, and then choose any school and generate the report. I have generated that already, and this is what that looks like. It will give you the student ID, name, and just the most recent IEP and the most recent eligibility overdue. It'll tell you how many days they are overdue. But I do want to point out that those standards reports are nice. You can just go in and run them. But if you want to find information really quickly, I want to remind you that this student search option here, advanced search, like Nick was saying, I was going to get into that. Advanced search can be done from here or from your student search, advanced search. And just reminding you how much information you can pull from this advanced search. There are these search criteria that's built in where you can look for your students that have a non-standard day length. If you want to find out how many kids have abbreviated day, you can run that. You can run a report that tells you kids who have services marked for ESY. You can look for people who don't have case managers. All of that is very useful to you as the power user in your district. But you can also look for things like related services. Pull all the students who have speech language as a related service. And I don't want everyone, let's say I just want, where are my grades? Students who are in 3rd and 4th grade who have speech as a related service, and then I can view those students. So a lot of times I'll hear people say, hey, I need to know which students get speech. This is how you can do that. And those students will pull in. When you're in there, there's a search that you want to do often. Like you're always going in, checking those related services. And I don't seem to have it, but there is a way to filter the search, and you can create your own filters for those searches. I'm not sure why. Anyway, but you can get so much information just from this advanced search by disabilities, special ed services, related services, and then all of those case manager searches. So a lot of times the information you're looking for, you don't have to run that report. So for example, if you want to know IEP eligibility dates, you can view students by IEP, view students. This might be too many students coming up in my search. So here are the students who have an IEP. I see what I did. I have to impersonate someone. I'm sorry. So if I'm doing that student search, IEP students. I'm sorry about the delay. We're having thunderstorms around here and things are not going as fast as I would like them to. You'll see in this that you have your projected IEP and you have your projected eligibility columns. So if you want to know what IEPs are past due or coming due, you can just come to the student search and it will give you that information that you can sort and manipulate right here. And you can have your projected eligibility and IEP right next to each other. And this search can be exported into Excel. If I hit export results, it downloads. And it will come up so you can have that in an Excel document. Not sure if it downloaded or not. I don't think that's the right one. Oh, here it is. Yes. So I can get this instantly that will give me my IEP dates, my eligibility dates, date of birth and disabilities for those students. So that student search is very handy. Katie, is there anything else that you wanted me to show regarding the student search options?
No, I think that was good. I think for me, the biggest thing, when I worked in the district, and I've shared this before, with during my power user training, like when I look at this, the red flag to me, yes, it's those stop signs, those red stop signs, but it's also when I look under case manager, who's accountable for these students? And so at my district, this is how I would make sure that every student was accounted for by having a case manager. And there was times where I saw that, we have a student that enrolled. Nobody knew that they were there. Somebody had gotten the paperwork, gave it to somebody else. And I was like, who was responsible for this student? And nobody could answer. And they had been with us for, 3 or 4 days. And they were sitting there and we weren't aware. And so this is how I kind of, I would run this report and say, oh, who's that? Why don't they have a case manager? So it helped me keep my data clean and know that we were looking at that every student was accounted for when it came to having a case manager and who was responsible for that student. And just pulled up, if you look at all these red stop, now this is the training site, so this would be not good if this was your district, but data, actual data, we can see all these red stop signs and all these students don't have case managers. So my first thought in my head is, nobody knows that they're there, or that these students actually need to come out of here and maybe they're still sitting in SSI, maybe they just weren't inactivated. And so just making sure that that's just a great way. I love advanced student search. I think it's my favorite, is just to keep my data clean.
And there
So
is a case manager standard report, but
this
going
is quick
through
and
and running
easy.
it is like you can just come here
Right.
and you can
Right.
get
And I
it.
can run that report, but I don't want to wait. I want to know right now while I'm in the heat of the moment so I can whip off those emails and who's the student, you know, what's going on. And so I just like it. So there's multiple ways. I always say in Ed Plan, there's more than one way to get where you want to go. Even with advanced student search, there's 2 different ways to get there. But I just like this because I think it's quick and easy. And so that takes care of reporting. And so we're going to move on to kind of, yes, thank you. The grants are still showing on the report, so don't panic when you run it. We know, I know. And we're working on a report where you are going to be able to see what students do and don't have a case manager for AR, and looking at that as well. But for this, and if we can, in that advanced student search, showing them the XG. And I just want to, while she's pulling that up, XG is a placeholder for a student's grade. It shouldn't be permanent. So we want to make sure that we're updating students in SSI. And so what we can do is by going here and clicking on XG, and I don't know if we'll have anybody in the training site, it'll show us students that have XG listed for a grade level. And then we can look at why are they at XG? Are they supposed to be still there? That's fine. But have they been XG for a while and that grade level needs to get updated? Also, what I'm finding when I'm working with districts and I'm fielding some questions is we have a way to get them into the SSI. So we have a process, whether it's, you contact the Power School person and they put them in there for you, whether the power users are putting them in, but we're not seeing that districts have a process to get them out of SSI. And so if you're running your report and you're seeing a lot of students, what we're seeing when we're helping districts with their data cleanup is that they have a lot of students that are in SSI and should have been removed. And they weren't because they have a process to get them in, but not a process to get them out. And so making sure, because they don't, they're not at the school, they're not getting on enrolled the typical way. You want to make sure that you're cleaning up that SSI school as well. Throughout the year when students leave, whether it's like adult ed or, those pieces. Any questions about that XG and doing that search to find those students for XG? All right, great. Anne's going to take us through, there is a wizard, I don't know, a feature in wizard, or I don't know what you call that, but in the wizard, there's a functionality of, the contact wizard, and there's a new article with how to use the contact wizard, but I had a lot of questions about contact wizard, and so Anne's going to run us through that. Or Anne, yeah, you're demoing it. Yeah, okay, sorry. I was like, is there, Laura has a question. Is there a way around the SSI school where students can be assigned? Unless you know something different than me, that's what it is right now. Laura, I can take your question to the Laura here and Lisa here at SCDE to see, but this is the only way that I'm aware of. Nick, is that true for you? Your thought as well?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of visibility into the Power School side, but I just know that a lot of districts enroll kids in that school, in Power School, to get them into Ed Plan. From there, could you enroll them in another school? Potentially. I don't have visibility into what the Power School rules are. So
I'll look into that, Laura, and see, but right now that's what I know. And I see Tess has her hand up, so I don't know if you want to unmute, if there's something you want to drop in the chat, or if that was an accident. All right, Anne, go ahead.
All right. So the question of the day is wizards and this contact wizard. What is this function and what would you use it for? So if you go into the contact wizard, it will give me the list of students that I have available that I'm on a team for or that I can access. So I'm just going to choose a few of them because I don't want to add contacts to all these students. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose the student that I want to add a contact for. So instead of going to each file, I can do it from here. So these are the students that I want to add the contact for. Scroll to the bottom, and I have two choices: Launch Group Wizard or Launch Wizard. And I was thinking about when you would want to do either one of these. So if you want your case managers to add a contact or to document in contacts, say when progress reports go home, I can come here to the Launch Group Wizard, and then I can add my type of contact, the person making the contact, the method, so I'm sending them all an email, and then the date that I'm sending this email, which is, let's say, the 21st. And then I can say here, sent home progress reports. Sorry. Then I'm going to say continue. Now this takes me to the first student that I have checked. And I'm going to come here to this first student, and I'm going to hit add contact. All of that information that I've added pulls up, and I'm just choosing the person I'm contacting. And then I hit save. That contact will show up, and then I want to go to my next kid. And in my next kid, I can add that contact. All of the information I put in pulls up, select the parent, hit save, and then I can go to my next kid. So that launch group is a way, if you're documenting the same thing for many kids, you can go in here and launch that contact wizard. I'll show you how I did that again. And go to Wizards, Contact Wizard. I can choose all of my kids. I could choose just the ones I want. And then I can just send that contact or document that contact for all of those students without having to go into each student, retype it, save it. Next student, go into the student, retype it, and save it. So that's what that launch group wizard does. Now I'm going to choose those same students again. 3 students right there. Scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to launch the wizard. So a scenario I thought of is many of my teacher friends have a paper calendar that they carry with them everywhere. It is their Bible. It's in every meeting with them. It's every time they take a phone call or whatever. So they'll have all their contacts in that calendar. And they're going to sit down and, oh, I need to document these contacts in the system for my kid. So they have their paper notes, and now they want to go put them in. They can go in, select the kids that they want to document those contacts for, go in, add the contact. So this one's for Aiden. I'm going to add that contact. I'm going to put in the person I contacted, my method, the date, any notes, and then save. Now I can add another contact to this student at this time if I wanted to, or I can hit next student. And now I'm going to go to my notebook and I'm going to add all the contacts I made for Alex. Add a contact and just go through and add all that information student by student. But you don't have to go out and in to a student's file to do it. You can do it all from this contact wizard. Anyone have any questions about that or anything I need to clarify?
So no, Ann, I think that was good for that. Laura asked about a report to see like who's recently logged in. And I suggested the standard reports under the general admin tab with the recent logins. That would be helpful for that. She asked if it will let us know the name of the user. So I haven't tried that report. So, the other way to do this, and I don't know if this is what she's really looking for either, but like if I go to admin search users, I can look at the user activity, and then it allows me to know that person's activity if you're looking for a specific person, but if you're looking for groups. And then Hattie said, can you please go back over the process to run a report of students in SSI? Oh, so that report was advanced student search. And it was just not necessarily that the students that were in SSI, but the students that she showed were in the XG, which was the grade level. And then
But
she's
to
showing us
find
that
out the
there.
SSI, they could just run the report by SSI school.
School. So I think is it listed as SSI in there? I think it said like the full name.
I think it'll say supplemental support identification. Yeah.
See, I'm not seeing that. Am I missing it?
I don't know that it'll be in the training site, and
It
that's
won't
what I
be,
wasn't sure
yeah.
100%. Is it in their production sites? Is that school? I'd have to check that.
So, but an example would be, I'm going to run Test Middle School. So I choose the school I want to run the report for. And then I can choose any of the other filters that I want. So I'm looking for my grade, student name, first name, grade level. I want to run kids who are in 8th grade. But if you were looking for that if you're looking for that XG, you choose XG. I'm not going to find any kids XG. So I go for 7th grade, and then I want kids who have an IEP, and then I can view those students.
Yeah, and Lindy said
Yes.
that her SSI it's called something different, so that might be that as well. If it's called like theirs is called Educational Services School, so that's helpful to know. We're using that general term SSI, but it could be something different. Yeah, that 991. Okay, so looking at our time, we have a few more things to cover, and so batch printing. Anne's gonna show you about a little bit quick on how to for batch printing. And Anne, I just want to correct me if I'm wrong here, because I had a question come up about for batch printing. You can batch print using My Docs if those students will pop up if you're a team member or you're the case manager. But if you're not part of them, then you won't be able to batch print those documents.
That is mostly true. Yes. And I actually got clarification on this today because I knew I was going to be talking about this. If you are the student's case manager, so I just went in and impersonated a case manager. If I go to my account, My Docs, all the documents that have been created to students that I'm case managing will show up here, and I can batch print them. So if I'm here, these are all of my students that I'm case manager for right now. If I go to document and I can sort that, I can look down to if I want to print out eligibility determinations, I can select those. But mostly we want to print out IEPs. It gives me the date of the IEP, so I want to look at the dates of the IEP. For William, I'm going to do the most recent one. Then I can go to my next student and look at which ones that I want to batch print. Select batch in that batch print, the checkbox in the batch print row. Sorry. And then I can scroll to the bottom and view that document batch. And that will pull all of the IEPs that I chose. So you don't have to create the document, but you do want to have to be the case manager And you will pull all documents created within a year for the students you're case managing. Do you want to show that again, or?
I think we're good. And thank
Okay.
you. With the batch printing, I don't see anything in the chat, but with the progress report, descriptions, I sent that out in an email. And I just want to make sure, because I know sometimes our emails get, if your email looks anything like mine, it gets a little bogged down. And so I wanted to make sure, just as a reminder that this went out, we were asked to come up with some descriptions for the progress report status, goal status information. So like mastered, unsatisfactory. Again, you can feel free to update this, talk, at the your districts. This is just a helpful tool for you to use. And that's why it's there. And then the next piece of this is that I wanted to share out was oh, and I had it ready and then I went back to check something for a report. So when I pushed out information about the employability, and so I wanted to show you where that's at. Karen has a question. Is the progress report status under resources? You know what? I have a note to put it there. I don't think it's been there yet. And I'll email that to you to push out.
Yeah, I don't remember adding it there.
Yeah, I don't think it got added, and I said to myself, ooh, and then I said I'm gonna PDF it before I put it there. So yeah, we'll get that uploaded. I'll make a note of that.
And where are you gonna have me put it so they know where to find it?
Let me think about that. Sorry, I'm trying to pull this up. We can put it in, I'll put in the notes where we're gonna put it. Cause I'm thinking,
Okay.
I don't know if it would go under general files maybe, but because it wouldn't go in a quick reference guide. So, okay, so we're at the employability credential progress checklist. I'm saying it's annual, and where that configuration changes is right here. This blue box here, and we're talking about this assessment because this assessment date's required. So there was issues with finalizing if you didn't have an assessment date. And so I got some wording here from Kim Watkins. If you have questions about it, you can reach out to Kim. But I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that this is here now and that what you're going to be putting for assessment date and then the assessment findings, that all that text is there for you if you didn't give an assessment that year. So typically that assessment's done the 11th or 12th grade. And so when you're doing this, if you didn't do one, there's guidance there on how to do that. All right. And so that was everything that I had. Are there any more new questions in the chat? I'm not seeing any. And so looking at where we would put that, I think that's going to go under general files. I think that's going to be the most, like for the resources, under resource information, general files. But I'll confirm and put that out there, and then I will put that in the notes that it's been uploaded. We'll get that done. All right, any other questions? I'm not seeing any. So thank you everyone for your time. We appreciate everything that you do. And if you have questions, please email or put them in Zendesk or fill out the response form or the request form for districts. I've been going through those and sending that information out. We'll see you on Thursday, September 18th for our next office hour. I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you.